Well, hello, this is the Final Boss, and this is a writing tip slash question. This question is, do writers have a duty to put good messages in their work? This was asked by Joji, and it's a very valid question because one of the things this writer has shared is that they like works that kind of have anti-heroes, have dark storylines, stuff like that, but feel an obligation that, hey, if they're gonna, they like reading works that have those things, but if they're gonna write, should they, you know, not include sort of anti-hero structures, darker themes, things like that. So, from my point of view, the question really comes down to what a writer defines as good messages, right? Does a story have to have a happy ending to have a good message? Does a story have to have a heroic character, or can that character be an anti-hero, or can it be one of the gray area, people that, kind of has just some light and some darkness in them, right? And so I think a lot of these questions come down to what the writer believes is true about the world, right? So I do believe that if, you know, someone is representing what their honest view about the world, or an honest view about the way life should be lived, they are, being truthful to what they understand as a writer, right? So, for example, maybe, in this world, sometimes bad guys do win. And so, if you say, hey, if I let the bad guy win in my story, is that being honest? Because, is that writing a good message? So, let's say the bad guys win in one story, but in real life, we know that a lot of people that are, really, really angry or, doing bad things probably have a lot of other issues, right? Like, just like even people that are doing good things can have mental health issues, can have things that are bearing them down, right? And so the question is, hey, can you represent something honestly in that respect, right? And saying, hey, yes, this person is doing bad things. Yes, they might get away with it. But if you think about the story or the movie, There Will Be Blood, right? In the end, he got what he wanted, right? He got, the Daniel Day Lewis character got the oil. He killed Eli. He got everything he wanted, right? But he he lost something that was making him human, right? That was making him a caring person, a thoughtful person, and that was kind of his relationship to his son that he kind of, shunted aside for the sake of pursuing the dramatic wealth that would come with striking oil. So I think there are really good examples of this in art, and I think There Will Be Blood is a good one, right? That character is like the Daniel Day Lewis character is an anti-hero. He is he wins in the end. He kills Eli and gets the gold, but and gets the money. But there is the story is giving us subtext that something more substantial to living a correct human life than winning the money and getting the gold was lost. And he looks very savage at the end. So they do kind of display that something about what makes a human was shattered by his complete, you know, pursuit of wealth, right? And renown. So those are things to think about. I think there are, and it's a very nuanced thing, so it's very hard to have a black or white answer. It's all good. I'll put this up on the YouTube if you got an ad. But yeah, it's a very nuanced thing, so there's no black and white answer, right? I do think it is up to a writer to really give it thought, though. Um, I don't think a writer's, I don't think a writer escapes the need. I think they do have a duty to think about these questions. So I think the writer that brought up this question is very good. They do have a duty to evaluate, what do I think is the truth? What do I think is the real impact? And to not be dishonest, right? Like, you see a lot of television and TV shows that, sort of the inverse of what they did in, There Will Be Blood, right? Where even though Daniel Day Lewis gets the money, gets the gold, there's something lost as well. They're being very honest about that, but you'll see a lot of, TV shows glamorizing just decadent wealth and sort of these things, but they don't show that it doesn't, like I've worked in tech. I've known folks to make, crazy amounts of money, personal friends, and it's obviously nice for them that they have this financing, but it also they're no better off in some ways, right? They still get angry, they still feel hurt, they still feel like imposters, right? So a lot of the way media represents someone rising to meteoric wealth is that all of a sudden all your problems are solved, you're a better person, you're happy. Who cares who you ran over to get there? I think there was a quote by one of these blockchain people that when they asked him about all his talk about philanthropy and he had cheated a bunch of people, and they asked him, hey, you were saying all these philanthropic things, and he's like, oh, that's just part of the game. I didn't really care about all that philanthropy stuff. You just say you do so that people will trust you, and you can bilk them out of more money. um, you know if that in a story is represented as the right way to live, that probably would be dishonest. It's okay to have a character believe that, but as you can see sort of with this, sometimes people do get away, but it's a very callous and less healthy and less human individual that makes those types of decisions, right? And so there is a balance to strike, right? Where plot wise, your plot and your theme do not have to be the same. You can have a plot where the bad guy wins, like this blockchain guy who bilked people out of tons of money, or the Ponzi, like a Ponzi scheme or something like that. But I do think the writer does have a duty to zoom in enough to those characters and to that situation and really evaluate whether that's the only story, or if there is a subtext, or if there is a reality beyond the material success, like in Daniel Day-Lewis and There Will Be Blood, where even though he got his oil money and killed Eli, there was something fundamentally lost about what made him human that was changed by his single-minded pursuit. I hope that's helpful. Please type in the comments if you have questions. I mean, these questions come from comments, so obviously, if you want more of these writing tip videos, ask writing tip questions, and I'll be happy to make them. Take care. Have a good one. Bye bye.